Okay, there we go. So short naps, the short naps are about 10 to 20 minutes long. Any longer than that, you're going to become very distracted, or not distracted, you're going to become very groggy, and it'll take you longer to wake back up and get back into the rhythm of your day. But 10 to 20 minute length naps are associated with higher grades. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to the idea of activity. So how does exercise support learning and mental health? Physical activity is correlated, again, lots of studies. I've got the sources down there at the bottom if you're interested, with academic performance. And if you have poor physical fitness, that is correlated with poor academic performance. Exercise is associated with enhanced memory. And there's lots of stories that you see in the news about this. Most of those are looking at older adults, but it's also been shown to be true among college students and university students as well. And consistent aerobic activity is linked with increased self-control. So it enables you to build your conscientiousness, which is going to serve you well as you work your way through your medical school career. So what activities should you incorporate into your study routines? Now, the research is a little bit all over the place as far as what type of exercise is best. Is it better to do ongoing moderate aerobic activity, or better to do strength training? Probably the best exercise is going to be the exercise that you are going to be willing to do regularly over time, whether that's going out for a jog, going for a swim, hitting the gym and lifting weights. Whatever that is that you're going to get to do regularly will be the most effective. You're also going to want, as Dr. Kohar mentioned, take short breaks while you're doing your studying to improve cognitive performance. You want to do breaks about every 20 minutes or so. Any more than that, and you start to lose focus. And one thing to be aware of is one study out of Taiwan did find that if you do very high levels of physical activity immediately before tests or shortly before tests, that might reduce your memory capacity. And logically, that makes sense because the brain requires so much energy to function. If you do a really heavy workout right before a test, you might be burning up all of that energy that you have available to help your brain function. Again, that was just one study. Generally speaking, moderate activity is very important for learning. So moving on to the third item is nutrition, and what foods are scientifically proven to help you learn best. Obviously, there's lots of information out there about what the best diet is and what is the best thing for your health. It probably varies by person, but the items listed here are ones that have been scientifically proven to help you learn better. So berries and citrus fruits are two that have been found in multiple studies to improve cognitive function, to help you think better. Nuts, in particular walnuts, are ones that help improve your reaction time, your ability to retrieve information quickly, as well as interpretation of verbal information. The study of walnuts found that students who ate them on a regular basis had an 11% improved interpretation of verbal information. And finally, fish is significantly associated with better grades. A German study of adolescents, high school students, found that eating 8 ounces of fish per day was associated with better grades in those students. Obviously, that's a lot of fish to be eating, but it is something that is associated with better grades. So once you've used these techniques to help you learn all your information better, what do you want to do on test days to ensure that you have your best performance on those test days? There were 2 things that popped up in different studies. First is that you want to eat a high quality breakfast. Eating a breakfast before a test is correlated with higher performance on the test. And again, that makes logical sense if you think about it, because the brain requires energy, it requires fuel to run well. The other thing that is tied to test performance is to bring a water bottle and take sips of water during the exam. This was found in a British study of university students to increase test performance by about 5%. Now we're going to switch over to the fourth aspect of healthy habits, and that is social support. And what is a social support network? It's not the social network like Facebook, but it is the people around you, your family, friends, peers, and mentors that provide you with support. That can be emotional support in the form of love and empathy. It can be instrumental support, giving you tangible aid and service, things like driving you to the airport or bringing you chicken soup when you're not feeling well. It could be informational support, giving you advice and suggestions based on their experiences. And it can also be tied to informational support, appraisal support, where they provide information that helps you take a look at yourself and appraise what might be going well in your life or need to change in your life. Now, how does this tie into your academic success? Well, feeling alienated from your school is negatively correlated with achievement, and feeling that you're supported is positively correlated. And again, this is another one that sort of makes obvious sense, where if you feel like you're supported and you have those structures in place that are going to make you effective, you're going to better be able to adjust to life at school, at your medical school, as well as keep your focus on your academic achievement. You won't be thinking about the fact that you don't have this social support. So what are the things that you can do to build a social support network? The most important thing is that you have to take time to nurture it. You can't just assume it's going to happen without putting in effort. So make sure you're staying in touch with your friends and family, that you're expressing appreciation. Don't compete. We've all heard the stories about, at the pre-med level, gunners, people, constantly competing, and you want to try and avoid that, because that's going to degrade the quality of your relationships. And you want to be a good listener and give back. So if your social support network needs you, provide that support, because then it's more likely that they'll be ready for you to help you out when you are looking for that support. And if you do need additional support, you should look at support resources available through your school. So through your college or university health clinic, or through your student affairs office. Both of those are great resources to help with additional support. Now, just to switch back over to the next section of our presentation, part of social support is mentors. And Dr. Kokar is going to talk a little bit about how mentors can be successful, how you can successfully find mentors to help you with your education and becoming a better physician.
All righty. Thanks, Laura. So we're going to begin this also with a question for you all. So the question is, do you have a career mentor? Have you identified one? All right, let's see what our answers are. Okay, 70% said no. 13% are working on it. That's good. And then 17% said yes. So let's talk about mentorship and help out the folks who have not identified a career mentor as of yet. So in medical education, mentors really serve a wide variety of roles. They can be teachers, they're role models, they serve as advisors, supporters, advocates, cheerleaders, counselors, more. And their impact is really vast. They can help you define your goals and develop the strategic plans to achieve those. They can give you practical insights like, how do I balance work and life? How do I set up a medical practice? They are really good resources to help you identify opportunities and how to achieve success in those opportunities. They can open doors for you, and when they can't, they can point you in the right direction and provide you with resources of individuals who can open those doors with you. They'll be really great to help with guiding decision making, like where do I apply for residency? How do I rank these programs? They are champions for your career growth into graduate medical education and beyond that. And they're important counselors. And the impact and value of mentorship has really been shown in the data. So having mentors has been shown to improve students' adoption to a learning environment, and it also improves students' satisfaction with their career advisement in general. Despite their value and impact, a lot of individuals don't have mentors. One study showed that only a third of medical students had identified mentors. So we really want to improve that. Now that we know their impact and their value, we want to arm you guys with strategies of how do you identify these people and how do you nurture relationships with them. So who are mentors? So mentors come in a wide variety of flavors. You can have near peer mentors. So these could be upperclassmen, right? A senior medical student, a PA student, et cetera, depending on the field that you're in, or residents. They could also be professors or researchers or clinicians. They could be administrators at your institutions. You can and you should have more than one mentor because they serve different roles. The other important point is that your mentors can change over time. Your needs are going to change, and so therefore your mentor can change. That's okay. There are certain characteristics, though, that effective mentors have. So you should be looking for these characteristics when you search and select these individuals. First and foremost, they need to be interested and invested in student education. They should also come to the table with experience and resources. They should be approachable and accessible to you. And they should be able to provide you feedback that's both direct but also constructive. So how do you go about finding these magical individuals? So mentorship can be both formal or it can be informal. So more and more institutions have formal mentorship programs. If your institution does, I strongly encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities. But there's also a lot of opportunities to meet mentors outside of those programs. So for example, you may meet a great person who comes in to give you a lecture, or you may really gravitate to one of your preceptors on one of your rotation. Invest in those relationships. You could also meet mentors by getting involved in special interest group. For example, an emergency medicine interest group or a surgery interest group. You can meet residents and attendings through these groups. Your Department of Student Affairs, as well as your student directories, school directories, are also really great resources. So are the alumni lists that your institution has. Also look at local, regional, and national medical societies. Some of these societies actually have formal mentorship programs that you can get involved in. And don't underestimate your personal contacts. Who amongst your friends, your family, your acquaintances, friends of uncles are in the field? Reach out to those people. You can also engage with your colleagues. You can ask them, who are your mentors? How did you go about finding them? This may be a great resource for you in terms of using the same people, or at least using the same resources as those individuals. And then the question becomes, what do you do next? You've identified this person. What do you do? Well, the first step is take the first step, initiate a relationship with that individual, and then invest in that relationship. You have to be proactive and goal-oriented in that relationship. So show your interest, ask direct questions of that person. Remember to be flexible. A lot of these individuals have really demanding schedules, so you may need to be flexible in terms of the time requests from them. But you should approach the relationship by being prompt, being reliable, and being respectful. So mentorship really is a two-way street. It's a give or take relationship. But the investment is really, really well worth it for the good ones. And I can say that to you really from my personal experience. A lot of my career trajectory from the time I was in high school to the time I was an attending physician and beyond has been guided by mentors. They've opened doors, they've challenged me, they've given me a hand up, and given me opportunities. So worth the investment. So the key takeaway that I really want to give you about mentorship is this: valuable, worth the investment. And then I would also make a plug for pay it forward. Before you know it, you are going to be the person with knowledge and experience. And when that happens, be generous with that knowledge and experience. Use it to uplift the people behind you, because I promise you there's nothing more fulfilling in your medical journey than doing that. So with that, I think we're going to say a big thank you from Laura and I for joining us today. And we want to wish you the best of luck in your school year. We hope it's really filled with effective study strategies, healthy habits, and meaningful mentorships. And I think we're going to just pivot now and start answering some of the questions that you guys have been putting into the chat. And if there's more questions that you have, please keep adding them to the chat, and we'll dive in and try to answer what we can.
Okay, the first question here that I see on the Q&A is right time to sleep and wake up. And I can take this one since it's from the healthy habits section. That's really going to depend on you, on your personal rhythms. Obviously, you will have some limitations on that. If you have to be on the wards at 7 a.m., you're going to have to learn how to be awake a little earlier or later. It's really going to depend on what works best for you. There's a great book called When, and I can't recall the author, but it talked a lot about circadian rhythms, and it's an easy read. I really recommend it. It has some great information on how you can optimize your schedule for your own personal best functioning. So.
Perfect. All right, so I'm looking at some of the study strategies questions that came in. So one of the questions is, I am preparing to take USMLE Step 1 and sometimes feel frustrated because it is a lot of information. That is correct. And I feel like it takes me a lot, but I cannot just read. So do you think, what is a good strategy? Is it to write while studying? And another person had a similar question. Any opinions on handwritten notes while in med school? I've been told about the power of muscle memory. So I'm going to just preface this answer by saying there's no one size fits all. And I hope that's a key concept that really came through in our discussion today. These things take time to figure out what works for you. Now, I can tell you from my personal experience, I do learn by writing. So I was a person that it wasn't effective for me to reread notes after a class, but I spent that time reviewing, rewriting my notes. That does somehow translate into my brain, and it works well for me. Now, I didn't use that strategy for every course and throughout medical school because it became more difficult. Like you're saying, USMLE Step 1 is a lot of information. So again, when I approached, instead of a course studying for that exam, I pivoted my learning style and my learning strategies that I applied. I went more to saying, okay, well, I still don't like reading textbooks and endless information on this, but what can I do that's effective and efficient? And I found that for me, for USMLE Step 1 and for Step 2, answering questions and using question banks and reading in that format worked a lot better for me. So again, individualize your approach. There's no right or wrong, and it's okay if things change over time. And let's see, Q&A topic, Laura, I think someone asked, would it be better to do exercise in the morning to have better information retention?
I didn't find any particular studies that mention that. The better reason to exercise in the morning is that people who exercise in the morning tend to be more consistent with it. They stick with it more. But other than that, I don't know that there is a best time to do exercise other than you don't want to exercise right before bed. Most people exercising will keep them awake a little longer. So you don't want to do that. But otherwise, I think the most important time to exercise, the best time to exercise is the time that will work with your schedule and that you will do it regularly.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm trying to hop around a little bit on the topic so that we can at least cover some of each. So a question that we got for the meeting mentors was, what is the best way to structure a cold email to someone you would like to be a mentor to you, but have never met? And another question was, what about if that mentor is not in my field of interest? So don't be afraid of cold emails. I think that's a good philosophy throughout your career. I promise you the worst thing that's going to happen is they won't respond or they're going to say, I can't do it. And that's okay. You can move on from those responses. So first, send the cold email. In terms of strategy of what to put in there, I would always say brevity is your friend, right? Remember that these people are busy. So short and sweet. So write to them and be direct about what you're writing to them about. You say, dear Dr. So-and-so, or whoever the person is, identify who you are. You know, I'm a first-year medical student at this institution, and then what you're writing to them about. I have a really strong interest in this, and I would love to see if we could set up a time to meet to discuss my career trajectory. And send it with the information. It's completely okay if a mentor is not in your field. Some of my best mentors were not surgeons, but they were still individuals I got a lot from. They helped me strategize in terms of where I was going with my career, what opportunities I wanted to take up and not take. They were pivotal in just how I wanted to be as a physician in general. Remember that your career is more than just your specialty, right? It's about like daily interactions, communications with patients, colleagues. So you can learn a lot from people who aren't in your specialty about the type of nurse, doctor, PA, NP, et cetera, that you want to be. All right. So in terms of healthy habits, Laura, someone asked, should we rest between our studies even if we are not tired?
I think that the research does suggest that you should rest between studies, that you should take breaks, even if that's just a quick, getting up, moving around, doing 10 jumping jacks, something like that. You don't realize that you're getting worn out, I think, sometimes. And so it is useful to take breaks regularly in there to improve your learning. As well as if you're sitting, there's multiple studies showing that it's not healthy to sit for long periods of time. So it's good to get up, move around a little bit, and just get your blood flowing before you sit down for your next study session.
Awesome. And I think that actually answers one of the questions that came under study strategies, where someone said, how do I handle feeling overwhelmed and pressured by the workload of topics I have to cover before an exam? It makes my reading ineffective and unenjoyable. And another person said, how do I handle hyperactivity and overthinking that affects your studying? So I think the strategies that Laura just talked about are really important, right? About don't make it a marathon, break it up. I think that helps a lot with making it enjoyable, making it effective, and remembering that there's a long stretch ahead of you. It's not just about these short bursts. So again, break up your studying. It doesn't all need to be at once. Some people, example, study for 25 minutes, then take a break for 15, then go back to studying for 25. No one said that it's most effective, and it's not most effective to sit down and study for 4 hours straight, for example. And again, keep the bigger picture in mind. Not every portion of this journey is going to be enjoyable. I mean, that's just forthright, but try to find the joy within it, right? So try to remember why you're doing it, the purpose, the big picture. I always found that when I did that, it helped reframe my thinking, and it helped me learn more effectively by doing that as well. what is the best superfood for brain health? Or what's the magic one?
Berries popped up in a number of studies. Some of these studies are questionable, but I think generally, produce is very important. Making sure you get enough produce. Nuts are another one that show up in multiple places. It's easier to just say, make sure you're eating healthy, unprocessed foods, and you're probably going to do okay. There's not probably a magic food that's going to make you learn better. It's really more having a healthy diet over time and making sure that you're eating well all the time so that your body's in the best possible shape so that you can learn the most effectively versus, making sure you have a berry smoothie right before your exam.
Mm-hmm. And one of the questions for study strategies that came in was, what do you suggest for dyslexic and autistic learners, or those with both? And then there were several questions that came in just about pace of learning, slow learners, etc. So my biggest thing here is use the resources around you. Institutions are really armed with people who specialize for this and who are there to assist you and help you to be successful. So reach out to your departments of medical education to see what those resources are at your institution. For example, with both dyslexic and autistic learners, we know that learning needs to be more personalized to their needs and their pace. And again, those are the resources that can give assistance with coming up with the pathway for success for you individually. It's also been shown that, for example, using multisensory techniques or interactive techniques are beneficial here. And again, don't fight that good fight alone. Ask the people and resources at your institution, how can I effectively do those things? What are the resources available to me to help me structure that learning and go from there? Let's see.
I think we have time for probably about one more question.
Yeah. I will just, I'll give the last one to you, but Laura, seems like someone had asked, do I have an email address? And that I would be willing to share. Absolutely. So the answer to that is absolutely. Anyone who is in need of a mentor, we will happily share my information. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to help however I can. And then let's go to one last question on healthy habits. How do you make a good and realistic plan each day?
That's a good question. I would say probably is you make a plan at the beginning of the day, and each day you take a look at it and say what worked, what didn't work, and you adjust over time. I don't know if you have any other additional suggestions for that one.
I completely agree. I think being adaptable is a huge part of this journey. I think that theme has been throughout. Again, it takes time, effort to figure things out. Things can change over time, and just be adaptable. Your situation is going to change. Your life circumstances are going to change at times. And so what you're able to do is going to change, and that is okay. And that's going to be something that's going to follow you throughout your career. So again, I think it's also the bigger picture of all of these strategies, these healthy habits, everything that we're talking about really isn't just for, I think, an academic year. It's for your career, and just establishing these things early on is really imperative, and it's really important, and it's going to help you throughout your journey. Okay, so I think, guys, we are at time. Thank you so much. I think we have the slide to throw up about a feedback form that is available for everyone. So please fill out the feedback form. We'll throw it up. There's a place to scan to get to it. And I think we just dropped the link to it as well. That feedback's really helpful in terms of improving future webinar sessions. And it also gives you the opportunity to enter a raffle to win 3 months of Osmosis Prime. So I encourage you all to fill out that feedback form. And thank you all again.
I'm pulling that up right now, so I will share that so that we can have everybody take a look at that. Okay, and is that showing now, or let's see. Are you seeing that, or are you seeing, I see click to exit full screen, so.
Yeah, mine's still coming up black. I don't think it's coming up right now, but I think we did drop the link for the feedback form in the chat. So feel free to access it there. Oh, and I think something may be coming up though now.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to get this to share. Let's see. Okay, all right, do you see it now?
Yes, we see it now.
Okay, yeah, so you can scan that with your mobile device and potentially win 3 months of Osmosis Prime free. So again, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Kokar and to all the folks at Osmosis. Thank you for attending. We really appreciate you joining us today, and we hope that this was helpful to you. Again, you can reach Osmosis at osmosis.com and Student Doctor Network at studentdoctor.net. Thank you and have a good rest of your day.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Recording stop.